Welcome, everyone. We're hosting our master's admissions and financial aid webinar tonight. Well, at least it's night here, evening. My name is Martha Coria, and I'm joined today by our Associate Dean, Joel Kaplan.
Hi, everybody. So we're going to go through this webinar about, application process, admittance, financial aid, and all that. So Martha, what will be, if they have a question, how will they go ahead and ask it? How do you want to do that?
So during the presentation, the best way to ask a question is in the chat box. We will check it periodically and try to answer in the relevant part. When we get to the end of our presentation, we'll open it up to questions, and anyone is welcome to unmute and ask their question, or in addition, put it in the chat, and we'll try to take as many questions as we can in our time frame.
So that's great. So Martha and I have been together about 20 years. So at this point, I think we know what we're doing, but we also complete each other's sentences sometimes. So each of us will take a lead on a different part of the webinar, but we also might intervene if there's something that strikes us. All right.
Oh, that's us. Yep.
That's us.
Yep.
All right. So that picture is how Syracuse looks in the middle of winter. Isn't it great? Actually, it's not even how it looks today. So we're starting, although we've had less snow this fall than I've ever had since I've been here. So, but that might bode not so well for later on. Okay. So this basic background, the Syracuse University has 13 schools and colleges. It's a private school, 1870. We're accredited by the ACE-JMC. In fact, I was as chair of accrediting visit to Indiana University. So there's about 115 or so accredited journalism mass communication programs in the country, but only about a dozen have their graduate programs accredited. So we feel pretty fortunate in that. And what that means is basically that every 6 years, outsiders from other schools come in and look at us in a variety of standards, from our facilities to our leadership to diversity to whether we do a good job with assessment and the ratio of faculty to students. And part of accreditation also means that our skills classes have to be under 20 students in each class. And it also means, and in most cases in our graduate programs, it's 15 or less. And as you can see, we're a very big school with 80 full-time faculty and 50 adjuncts. So it's my favorite thing to talk about. I'll try not to talk too long, but we were one of the journalism school was formed in 1934. And we were actually originally accredited, speaking about that, in 1948. And that was the original accreditation year for many of the strong programs across the country. So you're looking at Newhouse 1 right there. It's an IMP building, and it was dedicated in 1964 by Lyndon Johnson. The Newhouse family was with him, and that's actually where he announced the Gulf of Tonkin incursion, Newhouse 1 is actually the unofficial beginning of the Vietnam War. Newhouse 2 was dedicated in 1974 by Bill Paley, who was the president of CBS News, and it was significant because that was kind of the broadcast building at that time. And then Newhouse 3, dedicated in 2007, which now has the First Amendment wrapped around it, was appropriately dedicated by Chief Justice John Roberts at the time. And I like to tell everyone, in 2014, our Newhouse Studios, which is beautiful, our Dick Clark Studios, was dedicated by someone more famous than all three of them put together, and that would be Oprah Winfrey. And that's the lobby of Newhouse 1. And right behind that wall is the dean's office, actually, not my office. My office is in Newhouse 2. But you get a sense of the open space of Newhouse 1. And then there are classrooms on that second floor. And on the third floor, you'll have faculty offices. That's a view of the new studios in Newhouse too. Like the orange, you can see through there, it's the Dick Clark Studios. And we also have the Gary Innovation Center, and that's to the right of the orange. And there's a lot of AR, VR, all sorts of Rs where we experiment with drones and augmented reality and everything like that. This gives you a sense of the new studios. Upper left is Professor Schoonmaker, who's the chair of television, radio, and film, and that's the TRF studios. Same on the right with the green screen. And then below is the broadcast and digital journalism studios. They have a complete broadcast studio down there. In fact, just last month, we hosted a debate between the mayoral candidates in our studio, which was a Syracuse mayoral race, which is a cool thing.
Yeah, we're just trying to give you a little sense of the facilities here. We're not going to go too in depth into into all the features.
So the two things I'm most proud of when I talk about Newhouse is our faculty, and you saw that we have 80 full-time faculty members and 50 adjuncts who are full-time workers generally. But the other thing is our alumni base, and some people call it the Newhouse Mafia, but we prefer to call it the Newhouse Network. And we have a very strong career development center. And so all of our students, particularly our grad students, from the moment they get here for boot camp, which we'll talk about in a minute, till long after they graduate, have access to the CDC and the facilities. And the beauty about that is, you talk about the 5,000 alumni in the database. These are alumni who asked to be included. It's not like, okay, you graduate, so you're in this database. These are people who work in all of our industries, all of our communications industries, and they say they want to give back. And one thing I always say is when people graduate from Newhouse or other communication schools, you can make a good living and you can, support your family and be happy and go on trips and all that. But unless your last name is Newhouse or Bob Costas or Mike Tirico, you're not going to make millions and millions of dollars. So the way our alums give back is through their time and their energy. And so that's why they like to mentor our current students, and they'll come back and speak. You can't go a week. You can't go by a week at Newhouse where you don't have 5 to 10 different speakers, many of whom are alums, giving back and talking about their experiences or things like that. And so the nice thing about the CDC, again, it's a lifetime commitment. And so there'll be jobs for our internships right out of Newhouse, but there's also more advanced jobs later on. And so they get posted at our CDC, they get sent out to not just our current students, but our alums as well. The beautiful skyline in Syracuse. So I like to talk about Syracuse as the three bears: the Papa Bear, the Mama Bear, and the Baby Bear. So there are great communication schools all over this country, and you can't go wrong because they're really good. They all offer different things, and there's some in big cities like Boston, Chicago, and LA. And then there are some great ones like state schools like Missouri and Kansas. There are very little towns. So in the big towns of New York, a lot more opportunities. But when you do internships, they tend to be carrying coffee and doing things like that. You go to a place like Missouri that has their own newspaper for the town, and it's great, but a lot doesn't happen in Columbia, Missouri. So I kind of consider Syracuse the just right city, right? So we're, 500,000. And there's advertising, PR agencies, broadcast. We even have a television studio, American High now, where a lot of movies are produced. So our students get to be interns that do real internship type work in terms of almost like they're just other employees of these places. And we're also not too far from New York. We're 4.5 hours by driving. You can take the train, you can fly. And especially for our grad students in their spring semester, many of them end up interning in the city. They might take their classes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then go and drive down to the city and intern over the weekend or Thursday, Friday. So these are residential master's program. All but media studies, which is our academic program, start in the summer. And they start with a 6-week boot camp, usually begins the beginning of July. Things were disruptive a little with COVID, but we were able to get back on track. 6 weeks. And so it'll start Tuesday, July 5th. It'll be a 6-week boot camp where you basically go to class all day, either Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday, depending on your program. And the professional programs are all generally 1-year wraparound programs. So most of them end the end of June. So it's a 1-year experience, very intense, and indicative of the intensity is the boot camp. The exceptions are broadcast and digital journalism. They also have a capstone that ends July, but then they have a second capstone where they go to Washington, D.C. for 6 weeks, where they're producer or reporters for Nexstar stations. And the other exception is the Public Diplomacy and Global Communications program, which is a joint program with the Maxwell School, and that goes 1.5 years. So they still have the year program here in Syracuse. In the summer, they usually do an internship, oftentimes overseas, and then their last semester is in Washington, D.C. All right, so we always get questions, and we'll talk a little bit about the application process and who gets in, what criteria is. But the questions are, so how big are these programs? Well, this is the picture of the programs this year. All right. And they're all, it's not one size fits all. They're not always the same. Advertising usually is somewhere around 18. So they got a little big. Arts, journalism, communication, we hope for about 12. Audio arts, 14 is a good. BDJ, we usually actually want to be about 32. So we were higher up on that. M&D is about what we would want it. Media studies tends to be around 10. MPD is higher this year than it normally is. It's usually around 14 or 15. New media management actually is normally much larger, but we have a lot of international students like to take new media management because it combines the business school with us. And so that's usually in the 20s. The public diplomacy, 12 to 14 is what we're looking at. Public relations, probably more like in the 25, and television, radio, and film usually is in the mid 30s. So this is good size. The numbers are exactly pretty much what we wanted. They just program by program, they were a little different than what we expect. But it gives you an idea of the size as you apply for programs, what the size of your cohorts are. And as you can imagine, you get very close to your cohort and they stay with you for life because, I mean, it's just like when you went undergraduate and you have your friends there and you have your social groups there, they become not just your social group, but your academic group, and you are interested in the same thing. So lifetime friendships are formed.
They're an excellent network as well.
Yeah. Oftentimes people you were in your cohort hire you later on in life. So stay friendly with everybody. This gives you an idea of the breakdown of the type of students we have in international students. So we have a much more international student body and graduate than we do in the undergraduate. And we also have a much stronger diverse population. Once you take out the international, you see that 42% are members of underrepresented groups, be it African-American, Hispanic, Asian, and the like. So age, gender, and GPA, the fun stuff, right? So the average age is 24, which means the average student has probably been out 1 or 2 years. A plurality actually do come to us straight from undergrad. And then a majority come either straight from undergrad or out 1 or 2 years. But then, we've had students into their 60s because they're either interested in the program or they want to come back, or they're career shifters or whatever. But that gives you an idea. that's the breakdown female, male, which is very similar, by the way, to the breakdown on the undergraduate. So Newhouse is usually 2/3 female to 1/3 male. And the average yeah, go ahead, Martha.
No, yeah, just a note about the GPA, that's the average GPA of the students who are enrolled. It's not a minimum. I just want to be clear that we do not have a minimum requirement. That's just the average of the enrolled students.
And we'll get to the whole application process, but what we do is it's a holistic examination of your application. There's no minimums, period. We used to require GREs, and then we started making it optional, and now it's totally optional. So if you take it, perhaps you're applying someplace else and you did well, you're free to submit that. But we found that the GREs, particularly in graduate school, well, obviously they're only for graduate school, but we found that the GREs were a very imperfect predictor of how someone does. And in graduate school, it's kind of how hard you want to work is a much bigger predictor than innate intelligence or anything like that. So I think Martha's going to take over here and go through the application process. I'll probably weigh in if I see something I want to add to. So it's all yours, Martha.
Sure. So it's a pretty straightforward application process. Our application is online. There are spots there to upload your documents, your personal statement, your resume, your transcripts. The transcripts do not need to be official at this stage. You can simply have a copy that you upload. You can register your recommenders by adding their names and email addresses. They will then receive a link to fill out a form and upload their letter. We do require 3. The application fee is $45, but guess what? If you're attending this live today, we will waive your fee. We'll actually follow up with an email probably tomorrow or the next day with an offer for you to claim your fee waiver for 2022. If you are an international student in a non-English language speaking country, then we do require an English language test score, typically the TOEFL or IELTS. And then after you submit your application, we have an online video interview component. And this is something that you can do at your convenience. It is meant to simulate a real interview, so there's no advanced preparation required. And it will be a series of 4 to 6 questions, a combination of video questions and written questions, and there will be timed responses. And the questions could range from your understanding of the industry and your interest in the program, information about you, just to help our program directors get to know you a little better. And it's very useful in our admission process. The deadline to apply with the online application is January 15th. You will have an additional week after you submit to complete the video interview. And as Dean Kaplan said, we are very holistic in our review. There's no one component that's make or break with anything. We don't have any minimum requirements. We don't have any prerequisites. So sometimes it's confusing. People think about master's degrees being advanced education in a specific subject area. Our degrees are set up to give you the skills that you don't have. So often, since most of our programs are professionally focused, it's not an expectation that you're coming to us already having that background. So we have a lot of students coming from general liberal arts backgrounds or from education backgrounds or from management or other professional fields. So there isn't any expectation that you've studied communications before or that you've had communications experience. That being said, certainly having that experience or that major helps. I mean, it's great. So you come in with an understanding already of how some of the things work in this field, and that's wonderful. So the nice thing about the professional programs and that summer boot camp is that it kind of levels the playing field for everyone who is in the cohort. Our GRE is optional. Most of our applicants are not taking it. For television, radio, and film, we do require either the GRE or a portfolio. And the portfolio is not super specific in what needs to be submitted. We have some information on our website about what you can submit for the portfolio. And then the recommenders don't have to be anyone specific. We leave that up to you. You can pick the people that you think can describe your potential to succeed in a graduate program.
But try not to pick your mother or your father. That doesn't really work really well.
And I always advise applicants to definitely put time into the personal statement. We are reading it and we are looking for people who are really excited about being in the program and doing great things in the communications field. So our timeline, some folks may have already submitted applications. We are not beginning review until about late January. So the first decisions will not be sent until probably the first week of February, but we will, starting at that point, start to send out decisions as soon as we can. So as applications are reviewed, as decisions are made, we will be notifying you via email with admissions decisions. We do try to include the merit aid information in that admission offer as well. So if you answered yes on the application form to being considered for merit aid, we will try to let you know, or we'll let you know you're still being considered, and we'll follow up in March when final decisions are made. We typically plan preview sessions in the spring for those who are admitted. So they used to always be in person. And so if you didn't have a chance to visit campus previously, it was a great time to come for, a Friday afternoon and meet the program director, potentially other students in your cohort, see the area, think about where you might want to live. So we'll, I guess, see what's happening in March and April to see whether visiting campus is a prudent decision or not. And we will most likely try to host a virtual event regardless, just to kind of, again, answer more questions. And yeah, just, I know there's a lot, it's a big decision, so we understand, and we want to be here to kind of help you make the right decision for you. But for those who are admitted, you would have until April 15th to let us know if you're planning to attend. That gives us enough time to plan the courses for the summer, et cetera, before the start date in July. All right, fun stuff. Graduate degrees are expensive. Private education is expensive. And we know it's really a big decision and a big commitment. So our students here at Syracuse pay per credit. So it depends on how many credits your program is. So it could be as few as 36. It could be as many as, what's public diplomacy? 43?
Yeah, something like that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's our, yeah. So that's the most. So most of the programs are falling between, I'd say, 37 and 40. That's our current tuition rate per credit. So I've kind of just done the math for the current rate just to give you an idea of what the full tuition would be for the program. And then we expect that this will increase next year. We don't know exactly. We don't usually hear about it until March or so. Sometimes there's estimates that we can share ahead of time. So we'll do our best to do that. We want to be as transparent as we can about the costs that are involved. We do, the university's schedule for raising tuition, though, is every summer. So what we do is, with the students who are mostly finishing beginning in the summer and finishing the following summer, to save you that increase for your final summer, we do lock in the rate for you so that you're not dealing with an additional tuition increase just to finish your program in the summer. The other direct expense in addition to tuition are program fees. These are one-time fees. They'll be applied to your fall semester bill. So for programs that are a little more equipment heavy, there is a higher fee, and that's listed. And this is sort of what we've moved to. We've moved away from course fees. There used to be a fee associated with different courses, and we decided it was just better to have this one-time program fee. Other fees from the university, the health fee is mandatory. That's a university fee. That's the current rate right now. The activity fee, that's directly funding the graduate student organization. And they do a lot of events over the course of the year. And they're also really the main organization on campus advocating for graduate students here. Health insurance, that's the university's rate right now. It does change from year to year, so I'm not sure what it will be for next year. So if you already have your own health insurance coverage, you can opt out of that. Parking, again, that's an indirect expense. You may pay it, you may not. It really depends. If you live within walking distance and have a place to park at your place of residence, then you certainly don't need to buy a parking pass for campus. There's different places to park, some that would require a shuttle bus to get to campus. That's much cheaper than 800. And then there's places that are, maybe 2 blocks away, which you're probably looking at 1,000 or so, maybe more. So it varies widely. And books and supplies, again, just an average. When I surveyed students, it varies by program, certainly varies by the classes you take, et cetera. So it's just a number out there for you to consider. Housing. The university has some limited housing on an area called South Campus, and it's apartment style and it's fully furnished. And you would pay the university to live there. And so it does follow the academic calendar in terms of when you can move in, when you can move out, et cetera. Most of our students are probably living in technically what's off campus, even though it could be very close to our main campus within walking distance. So the rent, it varies widely. We have so many different options here near Syracuse University. There are the quote unquote luxury apartment buildings that are new with all the amenities, the basketball court and the movie viewing room and the laundry in your apartment and the free cable and internet and everything else. So those are going to be at the top of your rent range. And then there's other places. We have a residential neighborhood just adjacent to us with a lot of 2-family homes, or other homes that have been converted to apartments. And so, those tend to be a little cheaper. And, just there's a lot of different options. There's actually a converted, a school that was converted to apartments that's within walking distance. And so a lot of great options. And so you should be able to find something in whatever kind of range that you're looking for. So every year I do create a cost breakdown for each program that lists by term the expenses that you would be estimated to pay. So it has the direct in terms of the tuition and the fees, and then it has the indirect with, again, some of these housing and living expenses estimates. So that's on our website right now. And so you can see what I updated it, I think last March-ish. And then as far as finding housing, Syracuse University has an off-campus housing finder tool. They've actually vetted all of the landlords and housing facilities that have posted on there. So that was all about cost. Now I see these questions and I'm gonna get to them after I.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer them while you're talking.
I do see them, we'll get to them. So to help offset these expenses, we offer merit-based aid, and our aid is limited. We try to offer as many partial awards as we can to as many deserving applicants as we can. So the types of awards we offer: Dean scholarships. Those typically range from $5,000 up to $25,000. We have Dean's multicultural scholarships. Those are generally $15,000. We have the Newhouse Foundation Fellowship for Minorities. That's a program specific to our magazine, news, and digital journalism program. So we have 2 fellows each year who receive full tuition and also complete a special internship at our news organization here in Syracuse. And then we have instructional associate positions, which are like TAs. So they're not actually teaching, which is why we changed the name and the structure a little bit. They are assisting professors in classes and in labs and working between 10 and 15 hours per week during the academic year, during fall and spring. They receive hourly pay for the work. The current rate is $20 an hour. And then they're also receiving a partial tuition scholarship. So for the academic year, it's 15 credits plus the hourly pay. So I cannot emphasize enough, answer yes on the application. We have 2 questions. Would you like to be considered for scholarships? Would you like to be considered for instructional associate positions? Please answer yes. Now, if you don't want to be considered for an instructional associate, that's fine. You can answer no, but just be aware, if you answer no, we're not going to put you in that pool. So it's very important that you answer yes, because we are only considering those who say yes. During the, after students enroll, we also have a number of other jobs and open IA positions that we advertise. So it's almost, you apply by, submitting a resume and a cover letter. So we advertise them to all enrolled students. We aren't filling any positions on the side. Again, we try to be very transparent. Any open position we are going to advertise. So be aware that there's other opportunities after the admissions season is over. So the need-based aid process is separate. Our financial aid office here at the university, they facilitate the student loan process. They are not a place that can offer any kind of grants or any kind of scholarships. So they facilitate, if you fill out your FAFSA, it will be sent to their office and they will make sure that everything is on file there so that you can be considered for the federal loans that are available. And then this is generally our graduate students. They are considered independents. So most are eligible for the maximum amount of Stafford loan, which is basically $10,250 for every term. So $10,250 in the summer when you start, $10,250 for the fall, $10,250 for the spring, and another $10,250 the following summer. And then in addition, there are graduate plus loans, and those range by amount. And it does require a credit check, but students, it's useful if you just need, some more money to make it work, to be able to get through. I'd say the majority of our students are using a combination of resources. They're using personal savings, they're using merit awards from Newhouse, they're using potentially external awards that they've applied for, and they're using loans. And I will just note about the aid, it's a little complicated because this isn't like undergrad. Syracuse has a very decentralized sort of system. So the schools and colleges are the ones awarding the merit aid. And then, as I said, the financial aid office is facilitating the student loan process. So you won't receive kind of that itemized list with all the awards and loans listed together with your bottom line shown. The math is kind of something you need to do on your end. So you would have to work out, we would offer you an award, and then you could look at my cost breakdown that I've created to kind of see where that would fit in. And then you would receive the loan information and you can kind of plug that in and see how that would work. So I apologize for the confusion. It is just the way the structure here at Syracuse is with the package.
So Martha, I've tried to answer a lot of questions. You can look through it. There's a couple that'll be easier for me just to explain it right now. So I'm going to work on that. So Deidre asked whether the IA, the instructional associate positions, are only available within the Newhouse school. So every school, it's considered merit aid, and it's a complicated thing, but generally speaking, every school in Syracuse is more than likely only going to give their IA or TA, whatever they have, to their students, because it's limited aid and they want to, that's their way of giving some financial aid. That said, we've been approached by like student affairs, for example, and athletic affairs, where they've offered their version of IAs. And so you can get them from outside Newhouse. It's not typical. And it rarely will, if someone has a specific expertise that we don't have in our student body, we might go outside, but again, that's very rare. So then Alice, you had the more important question is, what's the process for determining? So as Martha said, we're looking at people who come in from all walks of life. Some have communication backgrounds, some have science backgrounds, some have history, political science background, and the boot camp is kind of like the evening out, right? But when we're looking for IAs, we are looking for people who have that specific expertise. So, for example, I teach communications law to the undergraduates. So I would be looking, when we would choose someone who took communications law as an undergraduate and got an A, or that we need graphics IA. So someone who took graphics courses or had a graphics education undergraduate, right, and did really well. So that's who we would pick. That said, the thing about the IAs is we offer them in the spring and then they don't always get filled. In fact, they rarely get filled. There's a lot left. So a lot of you will be taking classes in the summer that have that expertise. So if you took a graphics class in the summer and you did really well, then you would apply for a graphics IA, and then we would go to your instructor and go, yeah, she's really good at this. So you can also get IAs over the summer. So there's different aspects of it, but it really is that we're kind of like the middlemen in all this. So when you apply, you check, that you're interested in a merit scholarship, you're interested in the instructional associate position. Your program director will look at you and say, yeah, you'd be perfect for a television, radio, and film IA. They would check that. And then the TRF department would look, and the TRF department will take not just people in their program, but other programs to be their IAs. And that's how it comes. And then we have a spreadsheet, and then we make those offers. All right. See anything else there that we need to weigh in on, Martha?
What are you looking for from letters of recommendation? Did you answer that yet?
Oh, no, I haven't. So basically it's the same thing you would look for whether you're applying for a job or anything else. We want someone who can say, hey, is this person going to succeed? Because almost if an academic professor knows exactly what a master's program is all about, because they've gone through those PhD programs. So they're going to give you, say, hey, this person was really good. I have no doubt that they have the intelligence and the energy or whatever. The letters go from people who just, there's a form there that says stuff, and then there's an additional letter. And, some letters are really short, some go on and on for 3 or 4 pages. So you just want to pick people who know you well and just kind of leave it up to them to write the letter, because they know what we're looking for, probably better than what we're looking for. So I wouldn't worry too much about the letters of recommendation. Just find people who can attest to your abilities.
We had a question about international students having access to student loans. So the loans I was discussing are specific to US citizens and permanent residents. They are US government loans, but I put a link in the chat that is specific to international loans. There is a program for that our Office of Financial Aid let me know about.
So Megan asked about parents coming to you as a dependent and all that. You don't have to worry about that, Megan. Once you go to graduate school, it doesn't matter whether you're a dependent or whatever. It doesn't matter how much your parents make or don't make. You are considered an independent entity, period. Which is why there is no need-based scholarships on the graduate level, because your parents could be, Bill Gates. It doesn't matter, because he doesn't fill out a FAFSA for you. The FAFSA is what you fill out. And so that's why we give out merit-based aid based on your merit, and any need-based aid is basically loans. That's pretty much how it works.
Where to send materials. So, right, you're correct. If you're able to upload everything, then you're good. We simply put that there because some people are mailing materials, and rather than them calling and asking for the address, we put it on the website. So there are some cases where students are mailing or recommenders are mailing. So that's why the address is listed there.
So Fatima has a question that I haven't seen before.
So I believe, right. So regarding my understanding is when you apply, you can indicate on your form as an international student that you will be bringing a family member with you. And so when your I-20 form is created for you to apply for a visa, there is, I believe, a spot there where they understand that you will also be bringing a family member. So that should.
But the question is, can that family member work? And I'm not sure the answer to that. And that's something that the International Center could probably answer, right? Yeah.
Right, because if it's associated with the student visa, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It might be a different visa type.
So congratulations, you stumped us. But
I'll put their website in the link here.
It's so the International Center, you could email the International Center, and they will know that answer off the top of their heads.
Right.
All right. So Joshua says, do students from the different programs interact outside their cohort during classes? That's a great question. So there's 2 great reasons why we like the summer boot camp. One is it gets everyone on an even playing field. But the other beautiful thing about the summer, for the most part, is that you interact with the other programs, because, for example, like 5 different programs takes graphics. Okay. Now, some of the programs like BDJ, they don't really interact, or TRF, they don't really interact, although TRF might interact with audio arts and things like that. But the nice thing about it is that we have so many social activities over the summer. We have a welcoming barbecue picnic. We've had it at my house until I blew a fuse. We've had it at the zoo. We've had it at different places. We have trivia contests downtown. So we try to do, for the most part, I mean, the last couple of years has been weird, but we try to do something maybe once a week that all the cohorts get involved in. So you really do get to know people from other cohorts. And then there are classes, elective classes, where different cohorts will be in. One person early on asked about entrepreneurship, right? There's some of these entrepreneurship classes have people from all different programs, because communications is going much more in the entrepreneurship area. And so they're trying to take these courses. So, so there's a lot of ways to interact with your cohort, which you really need, because after, it's a fast program. It goes really fast, but after having 8 classes with the same people, you want to find some other people to hang with sometimes.
That's why it's great to find a roommate who maybe is in a different program, so that your schedules aren't exactly the same and you can be home when they're not and have some space, but also get to know some other students and some other programs too.
So Tanner asks, what % of applicants are admitted per program? I will say that it depends on the program, but the application acceptance rate at Newhouse for graduate programs is much higher than it is for undergraduate. And part of it is because not as many people go to graduate school, but I'll give you an example. Undergraduate, they get 5,000 applications for somewhere around 380 slots, right? We get 700 applicants for 205 slots. Do the math. And it's very clear that a lot more people are going to be accepted on a graduate on a % basis than on an undergraduate basis. Yeah, so Andrew says, is there an option to submit examples of your work? Absolutely. You can upload, BDJ, you can if you had a resume tape or you wanted to, or if you did stories and for M&D or for arts journalism, you are free to upload any of that. I would recommend not overwhelming.
Keep it short.
Yeah, because remember, your program directors are reading all of this stuff, and I'm then reading all of this stuff. So I like short and sweet.
So for Bella's question, I put a link to the financial aid office. And again, I guess you'd have to look at the FAFSA and see what's required, what they are asking you to submit.
So I don't want to butcher your name, Olawolafe. I'll try that. But yeah, so the link in the application just gives you the name of who your recommender is and basically their email address. And then the application then sends them out the form, and they fill out the form and they upload the letter and then submit it, and it gets connected to your application. And so Kelly Needham, I mentioned to one of the students early on, Martha said they had completed their application but did not get the Cura link. And I gave them Kelly's. So Kelly kind of is in charge. So let's say you fill out your whole application, you send us 3 letters, and 2 of your recommenders did, but one of your recommenders hasn't submitted. Kelly will let you know and basically say, well, she'll write your recommender and say you haven't done this, but she'll say
no, she won't write to the recommender.
She won't. Well, sometimes she won't. Yeah, all right. Well, so she'll tell you to write to the recommender and tell them, you haven't done it. Maybe you'll switch your recommender then. Say, okay, fine. I'm going to ask someone else to write a recommendation, because you won't get that Cura link until your application's complete.
No, they'll get the Cura link after the application's submitted. So there may still be materials outstanding, but they'll still get the link. Yeah.
See, that's why I have Martha with me. She corrects.
So not all programs have a spot to upload samples or a portfolio. So if you feel really strongly about it, you can just add it as an additional page in your personal statement, just put together a longer PDF or something like that. Or you, if it's something special like links to work or something like that, you could send it to the program director directly or to our office and we could forward it on.
So the WES evaluation is done based on the program, where they went undergraduate.
Right. So it's not, a blanket requirement for all international students. It's only a requirement if there's a question about the equivalency of your degree. So we are only concerned, we want to make sure that the undergraduate degree you earned or are earning is equivalent to a US bachelor's degree. So that's the only time it would come into question. Or there's a school that we're not sure it should be recognized. So if there's a weird question about the school, we may ask about it. Otherwise, it's not required.
And does broadcast require writing samples?
Yes, too.
So the question is, if you don't have one, what do you do? Well, you create one.
It also doesn't have to be specific to that type of writing. It can be another type of writing. That's fine. Again, like I mentioned, it's not expected that you already have this experience, but the program director is curious to see just the general level of writing skill that an applicant has.
And Ellis, we just found out a couple days ago that Syracuse is doing Forever Orange, and for many of you don't know that, but if you're a graduating senior from Syracuse University, then they give a specific discount rate on graduate programs. So they started that during the pandemic, and they continued it last year, and now they're continuing it this year.
Yeah, we just found out yesterday. My understanding is that next week there'll be an announcement. And yes, recommendations should be due by the deadline. So I would suggest you ask recommenders early so they have enough time to get them in. That being said, we understand that a recommendation is out of your hands. So we're not necessarily going to penalize you if a recommendation comes in a little late. We just don't want it holding up the review of your application.
Exactly.
Yes, we'll accept Duolingo. If you're unable to take IELTS, we will accept Duolingo. That's fine. The university will accept that.
Yeah, Andrew, game stories is perfect. That's exactly what they would be looking for. So that's fine. And we didn't, I know in the slides we kind of ran over a little bit, but so the sports communication track is now available for anyone who is majoring in magazine, news, digital journalism, television, radio, and film, broadcast and digital journalism, and public relations. And it just means your electives are sports related, and some of your classes become more sports related. We're also on a case-by-case basis. If you decide to go into advertising, there's a way to kind of work that in as well. So this year, of those 41 people that we talked about in BDJ, somewhere around 30 were doing the sports. So we're used to having a lot of people interested in sports at Newhouse. Health, please, Kennedy, we're not going to have a public health emergency. I'm not going wood, but obviously, if there's some, if all the computers go out, yeah, we're going to extend the deadline. But we will be flexible if things happen. We always have been flexible. Please don't spook us. Hopefully, all public health emergencies are over. Is there a limit to? No. If you get accepted and you check sports communication, the sports media, the sports communication track, then you're in. We're not going to say, hey, we're accepting you, and then we're going to say, oh, but you can't do the sports track. No, you're in. Once you get accepted, you're in. And just so you know, it has happened, when people come and then they go, oh, I didn't really realize you had the sports track. So can I do it? And we're able to be flexible. And the other way around too. Some people will come in and really want to do sports, and then during boot camp they say, you know what? I always wanted to be a sports reporter, so I feel it. And then I realized when I got a little older, I said, no, I wanted to do politics. So I teach political reporting and things like that. So if you say you want to do sports, you might change your mind and not do sports. But I was always a big sports person, and I decided I didn't want to do it as a profession because I couldn't enjoy it as much, because it's a job, right? And so I prefer doing something else and actually going to games and enjoying them and not figuring out how I'm going to, learn all the stats. So you can go either way on things like that.
Kennedy, we're only issuing one fee waiver per person for next year, but you're more than welcome to apply to more than one program.
Yeah. But at some point you got to figure out which one you want to go. And, you know, part of it, no, we didn't. So we've had these other virtual things where we meet with the different program directors. But the other thing is, if you really, you know, like one was saying, should I do new media management or should I do M&D, magazine news and digital journalism? You could apply to both. If you get accepted to both, when you come to the preview, then you would have the sessions with the different program directors, and then that would be hopefully your way of figuring out which one you want to take. But you could do that ahead of time. You don't have to wait for the preview. You could all of our program directors are very accessible, and you can find their email. They're all up on the website. You can email them, say, I'm considering these two programs. This is why I'm interested in. Which one do you think I should do? And they'll be honest with you. I mean, everyone wants more students in their program, but they also don't want a student in their program that would be better off in a different program. The PDGC, do you have a chance to work on a master's thesis? No, they don't. Because of the way their program is, there is no thesis. However, if you did PR by itself, you could do it. There's a thesis option versus an internship option, basically. Okay, the one on the recommendations, Martha?
Right. I added in the chat to directly to the applicant to contact our CollegeNet's our online application vendor, and they have a help desk. There's a link on the page. So anything technical that is going wrong with the application itself should be directed to their help desk.
All right, Tanner has two questions. I'll let you answer the second one. The first question is the internship experience. So there's a couple of internships in the PR program. One is during the year, and they will help you get one. There are a lot of PR agencies locally and some even virtually now everywhere. And then the final one is, yeah, you have to find it, but they really help you find it. And that's what the CDC is really good for, because they have all these openings, and we have a track record of lots of students having internships. So there's and we've had PR people work in our office, and it tends to be the opposite. Multiple places want you, and you have to figure out which one you want to go to. So you shouldn't fret about, oh, I'm not going to be able to find an internship, or I'm not going to be finished. That's just not a problem. And if you ever got to the point where you couldn't, there's so many faculty members, and we have professor practices in that program who still have lots of contacts. They will help you. But the idea is that you find one on your own, but we have a lot of backup stuff. Now, in terms of what about the fee waiver to those who've already applied?
I wrote back in the chat, we cannot issue a refund, unfortunately.
Okay. So future sessions with program directors, we're done for the fall. The future sessions will be after the admittance. But like I said, they are accessible. So if you know which program you want, if you're an MND, Professor Cheshire will be happy to chat, or Zoom. Same thing, Professor Sau in advertising. All the program directors are incredibly accessible. All you got to do is email them and set up a time.
We are actually working on uploading the recordings of our previous sessions to YouTube. We just have to go through the audio transcript, which is oh so fun. So we get the captioning correctly. So we're hoping in the next couple of weeks to have the recordings up, so that'll at least be something.
Yeah, so it's not a live interview with a real person, but you actually the program directors will actually ask you the questions, and then you will answer them. And then I'll watch them, usually with popcorn.
Megan has a good question to kind of help us wrap up.
Why Syracuse over other programs? That's a great question. And I would never denigrate other programs, because there are great other programs across the country. So there's a lot of different reasons why I think we would be good, but there's a lot of reasons why other programs would be good. So the question is, what do you want? What are you trying to get out? We've tried to structure our program, and we've been very successful with the one-year boot camp. So even though we have high tuition, cost of living is much cheaper in Syracuse, obviously, than New York and Boston and all these other places. We have an amazing faculty. We have an amazing alumni network. There's no field of communication, certainly in the Northeast, but all over the country, that doesn't have Newhouse alumni there. And so depending on what you want and what program you want, that would be the reason. And so I would say to you, Megan, I'm not sure what program you're interested in, but contact the program director of the program you're interested in, and they'll send you now a list of current students and alums, recent alums, and maybe some who've been out a little longer. Contact them and ask them that question. And I think you'll get a satisfactory answer.
And I can share that, in general, we survey our students every year, and I'd say most of our students are coming to us because of a specific program that we offer, because of the reputation of the school, because of the faculty, partly the facilities. Our programs also, again, for many of these programs, just 1 year. So you're limiting the time you're spending away from the job market. You only need a 1-year lease. You cram a lot into 1 year. There's really a lot going on in the school. I mean, we just showed you the slide with 11 programs listed and an optional track. So there's just a lot happening here at Newhouse, and a lot of collaboration and a lot of great ideas, a lot of speakers coming. There's just so many resources. It's really, you get a lot out of it, and again, in a short time, so that you can immediately, you're job ready when you're finished, and you can go out and get a position. So definitely a lot of pluses.
There's probably, I don't believe there's another communications program in the country that has as many programs as we do.
Yeah.
You'll have, you go to USC, my son went to USC in Annenberg, so you have great journalism and public relations, but film and all these other programs are in a different school. Columbia School of Journalism, great, but NYU separate. It's not necessarily bad, but the point is that you have all of our programs are kind of together in one place, and that I think is a very useful thing, because it means that we have faculty that can cross over between different programs, and it's nice. It's nice to have.
Well, that's a good note to
yeah.
end on.
But yeah, you guys were great and asked really, really good question. You even stumped us at least once. But I'm just gonna probably can find this very easy, but that's my email, and sometimes people get shy in the chat or shy talking. If you have a follow-up question at any point in time, feel free to email me or email Martha. But again, go on the website, find the program director, email them. They're incredibly responsive, as is Olivia Stomsky, who runs the sports program. And she's classic, right? Because not only does she run the program and teach it, but she's out there doing it every weekend. She goes off and produces for Fox and ESPN, football, baseball, basketball. So, she's at Newhouse Monday through Thursday, and then she's on the West Coast to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then comes back. So believe me when I tell you, she knows exactly what's happening. And also, for those of you interested in sports broadcast, we're the only school with the ACC network where our students actually do studio shows. None of the other ACC schools do that. So, I can brag forever about the Newhouse School, but I'm sincere when I tell you that there are other schools are really good out there. And therefore, you need to have a comfort, just like you did as an undergraduate. You have to have a comfort level of what you want. And if you really want to go to graduate school in a big city, there's BU, there's NYU Columbia, there's Medill, there's Annenberg, there's places in big cities. And if you want to be desolate, you can go to Lawrence, Kansas, and Columbus, Missouri, and a host of other places. So there's a lot of really great schools out there, and you want to go someplace that you'll be happy.
So our application deadline is about 6 weeks away. We're really hoping that you'll submit, and our nhmasters@syr.edu is a great email. Often I'm checking it myself. I also have 2 wonderful graduate assistants who are checking and responding. So don't hesitate to contact us at any of the email addresses. we will get back to you. Really want to thank you for joining us at this session today. And like I said, we'll follow up with the offer of the fee waiver, and we will work on getting this recording posted to our website in the next few weeks. So don't hesitate to let us know if you have any follow-up questions.
And the
Thanks.
nice thing, by the way, about COVID, I have to say, is that we wouldn't have even thought about doing something like this before, right? Because everything we did was in person. And Allison, hey, everyone's Zooming, so we can be in person, and you should come if you can. That's the other thing. We got 3 big buildings. Not too many other schools have 3 big buildings. So anyways, we thank you so much for being here, and I could keep talking forever, but I gotta go watch the Bulls play the Knicks.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah, right.
Take care.